Our first new build development site is just near completion. We're a couple of steps away. In fact, the house behind me, the buyers had just moved into that one yesterday, and we're nearly done at this particular site. We've had a few challenges. In fact, we've had lots of challenges. Make sure you watch all the way to the end, because I'm going to break down some of the issues that we've had and also how we resolved them. The property behind me, the buyers have moved in using the Help to Buy scheme, and I'll also explain how that works and how you can utilize that. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Hussain, and on this channel we have 3 videos a week using my 15 years of property investing experience to ultimately help you get further faster in your property investing journey. So these houses look beautiful from the outside. However, we're in December, it is quite cold, so let's go on through inside and we'll talk some more about what we're up to here. Have you ever had a builder say to you, "We're nearly there, gaffer, it's nearly finished"? Well, let me tell you, we are nearly there, gaffer, it's nearly finished. This is what the contracts have been telling me. In fact, we should have had the keys by now. We're a few days over in terms of when they should have been handed over. The last time we were here filming on site, we had a number of delays, some of them pandemic related, particularly around getting the utilities connected. The water connections were just done yesterday evening, and our first buyer moved in yesterday evening. So all been a bit tight, a bit stressful if I'm being honest as well. You know, this being our first new build development site, there's been quite a bit of learning that I've had as well, and some accelerated learning. In fact, towards the end of the year, what I intend to do is release 2 videos about all my key learnings over 2020 that I'll be sharing with you, so make sure you look out for those as well. In fact, if you'd like to see more content like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and enable the notification bell so you're notified when more of these videos are being released. When a site gets to near completion like this, you'd think things are going to get easier as we get right to the end, but in fact we start having more and more challenges. So for instance, as I said, the water supply is just being connected, but the gas and electric was connected recently, but everything can't be tested and commissioned until the water's in. It's running through the radiators, the boiler can be tested, we can check all the electrics are working. So there's still lots, a little bit of snagging and finishing off to do once all those utilities are done. So although it looks like still it's a bit of a mess and things need doing, in fact it won't actually take too long to finish off. But the frustrating thing is all these little things just add up and cause more and more delays trying to get a project finished. One key learning has been to build in the amount of time that we intend the project will take and have some contingency from that as well. When we acquired this site, it had the one house that was already here. But what we've done is we now have 4 houses here. We've had to construct this road here that gives access to the 4 different properties. And when we do something like that, we have to think about who's ultimately going to be responsible for it afterwards. Once all the 4 houses are sold, they've got the occupiers in there, who's going to look after the street? Well, one of the options is the local council takes it on, which is called an adopted road. Alternatively, remains as a private road, which is what we've chosen to do. So this will remain as a private road. We set up a management company that's responsible for it, for looking after it and its upkeep, and then all 4 owners of these properties will have a share and an interest in that company. One of the biggest benefits of new build property when you're building out the ground is that you have control over the cost. So for instance, on this particular site, we have a fixed price with the contractor who's built out for us, and it means we can really manage that quite tightly. Apart from the few minor changes we've made, there's been no real change in the budget. the changes have happened in terms of the time frame it's taken. That's taken longer, and that's really because all the issues 2020 is presented, which have been numerous. That means it's taken us longer to complete this particular site. When we compare that against flipping property, when we're buying a property to renovate and sell, there's many unforeseens that can happen. So as you're stripping the property down, you can start finding things that you weren't expecting, which means you need to increase your budget, the amount of spend you might have that on that property, which also then means it starts to squeeze your profit margin. And one of the things we like to do in a flip is to strip it right down to its bare bones, to its skeleton, and build up from there. So that way we can avoid any issues, because we know we're going to go pretty much back to brick. When you compare that with a new build project like this, the risk really is in the ground. As you come out of the ground, all the unforeseens have then been taken care of, and it's much, much easier to control the cost. So a major benefit of building versus flipping. But the quality and the finish tends to be thinking about who it is that's going to live in the property. So if you haven't already seen the flip video we've done recently, make sure you watch that. We'll put a link in the description further below. But if you have watched that, you'll see the kitchen units are very, very similar. The grey gloss handleless style that we use, very common in the projects that we're currently using. This one, however, has a much nicer, much more expensive worktop on it than the other one did, because it's a more pricey property. And again, it's thinking about who's going to be the end buyer, what are they prepared to pay, and what is it that they look for in that property. When we acquired this site, it already came with planning permission. So what that meant was the permission was in place to have the 4 houses here. The design was already put in place, what they would look like, what materials are going to be used, what bricks are going to be on the side. All of that's done and dusted before we acquired the site. However, rather than just starting building to that specification, what we wanted to do is look at how can we improve it, how can we make it better, and also what can we do from a cost engineering point of view of reducing those costs down in terms of what it is that we're going to actually build. One of the things that we did, for instance, is these windows. This was a normal small window here. This is the study in one of the houses. Once the hoarding's down from outside, we'll have a nice view out to the main road. Now, this window we've redesigned to have it going down to the floor, which means there's more natural light going in. I don't know about you, but for me, I think the lighting makes a huge difference in a house when you're coming to sell that house, and the appeal. So I think this is a much more nicer design, but lots of little features like this, we have to go back to planning to ask for those to be changed. We couldn't just change the design as we were building it. What that means is new applications going in. However, rather than putting the application in, waiting for that to come back and then starting the work, what we do, we start the work, i.e. the groundwork, and before we get to this point where the windows are going to go in, we've got the planning application in for various changes to happen, and as that comes back, we get to this point, we can implement those changes. So there's no delays in doing that, but overall, we're looking at the site, even if it's already got planning in place, we're looking at how can we improve it and how can we make it work better for us. This window also means the design is in keeping with the rest of the property. In fact, come on through, I'll show you another one, the large windows that we've got in this particular property. So this one here is a huge window. Again, it means it lets lots of natural light in. We've got large bifolding doors as well in the back. So it lets lots of natural light in, which makes it feel much, much nicer. And I think for me, that's really important. We have to create spaces. Let's go on through and we'll talk about the Help to Buy scheme. Before we talk about the Help to Buy scheme, if you're enjoying this content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and enable the notification bell so YouTube can let you know when these videos are being released. That way you won't miss any of this amazing content. The first person who moved into this site, they acquired their property using the government Help to Buy scheme. And the way the scheme works is that the government will loan you 20% of the purchase price, and in London, if you're in the London area, it goes up to 40%, but outside of London it's 20%. So they borrow 20% from the government, interest-free for 5 years, and then you have to start paying a nominal interest rate at that point. So this is a great way for people to be able to get onto the ladder, be able to buy property in this way. The current scheme is actually going to come to an end in March 2021. Originally there was talk about it's going to scrap it, that's going to be the end of it, but actually the government has changed their mind on that, and what they've done, introduced a new version which will start in April 2021. The main difference being that actually it will now only be for first-time buyers. Currently, the scheme can be used for your first home, or even if you're moving home, as long as it's only one property. The new scheme will mean it will only apply to you if it's the first time that you're purchasing a property. And the way they calculate the interest is also a little bit different. But one of the main things to remember about the Help to Buy scheme, some people think it's amazing, it's the best thing since sliced bread, and other people think, hey, maybe this isn't such a great scheme because of the way it's put together. What it means is it's not just a loan that the government providing to you, they actually have an interest and a share in your property. They call it an equity loan. So what that means is when you come to sell the property, it's not just that 20% that you initially borrow from the government that you need to pay, but it will be based on the value of the property, and that 20% will increase to whatever the current value of that property is. So you're paying back a share of the equity rather than just a little bit of interest that you're paying the government. So it's really important to be aware of that. Look, if you're enjoying this content, let us know in the comment section what you'd like to see, and what I look forward to doing is seeing you again on the next video.